Nancy Sandquist, Real Estate and Workplace Solutions Strategist for Trimble Navigation. Today we have Lisa Stanley, CEO of OSCAR, the Open Standards Consortium for Real Estate, for the first in a two-part podcast series addressing the challenges faced by FMs in data management and the quest for improved performance. OSCAR is a member-based international organization focused on the development and implementation of information exchange standards for the real estate industry. Member firms like Trimble are owner-occupiers, service providers, software developers, consultancies, and benchmarking organizations in the private, public, and government sectors. OSCAR Standards enables facility managers to gather consistent and more accurate data on the real estate they manage, including the areas of space management, occupancy costs, and leases. With better data, FMs can more effectively manage expenses and revenues towards the ultimate goal, improved performance. Lisa, there's a lot of discussion about the impact on big data and analytics and what it has in the corporate real estate arena. What are some of the challenges for facility managers?
There's three challenges, Nancy, that can have significant and positive results. The first is trying to figure out how to define and collect consistent data across multiple platforms, many of which are managed by outsourced service partners. The second is extracting what's most important from the data collected, extracting the most critical information. And third is making sure the information is accurate. When these areas are addressed up front, the business analytics available to FMs can improve decision-making, identify opportunities to cut costs, improve utilization, and also boost workplace performance. The goal is to optimize the organization's performance through superior facilities management. Demand's very high for better data to drive critical business decisions. As the profession focuses increasingly on big data, business analytics, benchmarking, and the Internet of Things, we're seeing a greater awareness of the importance of a standardized approach to define and collect the data. The focus is evolving from one of quantity of data to one based on quality, and the result is a dramatic rise in attention to data governance, which by definition calls for consistency. Isn't that what standards are all about? For FM business partners, this standards-based approach to data can offer a superior value proposition in marketing their services to the industry.
Lisa, how are companies around the world improving the way they collect data on their real estate portfolios?
That's an excellent question, Nancy. The most effective way to improve data collection starts with incorporating data standards requirements into RFPs and contracts for software and services, including them in information management strategies for the organization, and educating FM colleagues and your business partners on the value that can be gained by implementing standards, including OSCAR standards, and those from IFMA, BOMA, and others as well. It's important to note that these are not mutually exclusive standards and have been built to align with each other, each with their own focus on addressing real property. Leading companies are building standards into overall business models and systems to generate the quality of data the organization needs for lease management and administration, classifying and managing space, portfolio management, and other areas. I can't say it enough. Better quality data provides the information for better business analytics that improves decision-making to manage costs and improves performance.
Lisa, we've been talking about standards for years. What's driving the increased interest today for real estate and facility managers?
Well, I think part of it, Nancy, is standards implementation is having a tremendous impact on the industry. And market activity is one of the biggest drivers in moving this forward. Due diligence on large portfolios during mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, and divestitures is creating demand for better intelligence on properties faster and even earlier in the acquisition process. There's been little consistency in how information is managed at this critical point in portfolio transactions. OSCAR is working to solve the problem with the new Portfolio Information Exchange Standard, or PIEX, built around a core data model that also promotes consistency in due diligence. PIEX has been specifically built to bridge the gap between the corporate real estate and investment worlds. Historically, there's often been a divide between these two sides of the business, creating mismatches in basic information on properties. Data standards establish a common language to enable critical data transfer between these two areas, benefiting both greatly. The need for standards and better quality data will only increase in the future.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us today, and hopefully we'll be hearing a lot more about OSCAR in the future. Hello, I'm Nancy Sandquist, Real Estate and Workplace Solution Strategist for Trimble Navigation. Today we have Lisa Stanley, CEO of OSCAR, the Open Standards Consortium for Real Estate, for the second in a two-part podcast series addressing the challenges faced by FMs in data management and the quest for improved performance. OSCAR is a member-based international organization focused on the development and implementation of real estate information exchange standards. Member firms, like Trimble, are owner-occupiers, service providers, software developers, consultancies, and benchmarking organizations in the private, public, and government sectors. OSCAR standards enable facilities managers to gather consistent and more accurate data on the real estate they manage, including the areas of space management, occupancy costs, and leases. With better data, FMs can more effectively manage expenses and revenues towards the ultimate goal, improved performance. Lisa, thanks for joining us and continuing this discussion. We've talked about the importance of having consistent and accurate data, how companies can improve data collection, and what's driving the increased interest in standards, including the mergers and acquisitions, joint ventures, and divestitures activities that are reported nearly every day in the media. Lisa, can you address what progress has been made in raising awareness of the value to be gained by companies in implementing standards?
Significant progress has been made, Nancy, and the increased media attention is raising awareness and receptivity for both standards development and implementation. OSCAR is also responding to this increase in demand by building speed to market into its standards development process. One of the key challenges remaining is educating occupiers and owners who can benefit greatly from the implementation of information exchange standards, and FMs are perfectly positioned to fill this role. It's about a new way of doing business and not just the standards themselves. It's a much improved value proposition for the FMs competing to differentiate their services from their competitors with real value for the client. Change management is a key point in this discussion. Let's take a look at an actual implementation. Industry leader Zurich Insurance has built its business model in partnership with global service providers around information enabled by OSCAR standards. They recently reported that better than 80% of the real estate data they collect for real estate is now derived from their implementation of OSCAR. End users like Zurich are now issuing RFPs for services with the requirements to implement these standards. That's really progress.
So what's a good starting point for implementing information exchange standards?
Great question, Nancy. In order to implement information exchange standards, the resources have to be made available to effect the change. While implementation improves performance on several fronts we've already discussed with better information, there are also benefits that are valued by the corporate suite, including improved transparency, data governance, and risk management. This real value is often minimized or overlooked in the presentation by FMs to the C-suite to gain the allocation of resources to make it happen. In the FM world, it often starts with space. OSCAR's space classification hierarchy takes a three-tiered approach to space, and it can be expanded depending on the needs of the organization. It can also form a strong foundation for a standardized data approach to space management, occupancy costs, lease management, and administration. OSCAR ensures consistency of the data collected using common terms and definitions and eases the collection and transfer of data within the company and with external business partners.
Lisa, can you share an example of an implementation with us?
Absolutely, Nancy. Let's take a look at an example with the recent global implementation of the space classification hierarchy by a well-known Fortune 100 company. Prior to the implementation, they had over 120 space classifications. Yes, 120 space classifications. Significant redundancy and inconsistent classification management. They wanted to consolidate and simplify their data architecture, improve data quality and reporting, align global processes and tools, and establish that often elusive single source of truth. Their implementation eliminated 12 outdated and disparate systems and consolidated space and lease management functionality into one integrated system, where all drawings and lease data now reside for 24 million square feet of space. They've reported some initial benefits that are attention-getting, including that single integrated database and system. They now have less than half the number of space functions and types they formerly had, now 11 space functions and 60 space types. They've improved benchmarking. There's more flexibility in the system for future modifications and enhancements, more accurate and valuable reporting, improved workflow through streamlined space functions, and a simplified and collapsed classification layering system. If you start with a streamlined approach to classifying space, it can be a springboard for other areas like improving workplace productivity and the overall effectiveness of FM functions.
So, Lisa, what does the industry need now?
Nancy, I'd say the thing we're most in need of is more leaders who understand and engage in discussion about the benefits of building their business around information standards like OSCAR, and who are willing to step up, allocate resources, and lead more implementations across the globe. This approach to managing change is critical to moving the industry forward and improving performance for what is both one of the largest expenses and assets many companies have.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for your comments today. You can learn more about OSCAR standards by visiting www.oscar.org. Thank you.